I'm here now at the Shaw Centre in Ottawa, where Conservatives will gather in just a couple of hours to officially announce their new party leader. The main candidates have been traveling across the country for the past 7 months, trying to decide who will be their new leader, and it all ends tonight. Here's a look at what the campaign has been like over the past few months.
I'm Roman Baber. I came to Canada when I was 15 and we didn't have a cent to our name. But I always had Canadian opportunity and I had every blessing this country has to offer, because all you need to do to succeed in Canada is work hard and be nice to people.
If I'm in this race, you'll know that if there's a common theme throughout my whole life, it has been the idea of Canada. And I have fought at every moment to preserve the unity of this country, whether it's the referendum in Quebec or when I was Premier of Quebec.
Fabric of our nation is being torn apart by cancelled culture and wokeism.
Has our movement met the challenges of our times? While many in this room have put a lot of effort into various causes over the past few years, has it created an impact? These are questions I'll ask my cabinet to reflect on as we govern. Accountability within our movement will make us better. Our values and our principles are timeless. Communities, families, free speech, freedom of religion, fiscal responsibility. Acting on these principles and debating with respect are the recipe for our movement's success.
Canadians believe they've lost control of their lives. Big, bossy government has taken their money and told them what to do, leaving the country desperate and divided. I'm running for Prime Minister to give you back control of your life by making Canada the freest nation on earth.
Here's Liberal commentator Andrew Preshow on what he's watching for over the course of tonight and what tonight's result may mean for the future of the Liberal Party.
It's clear that Mr. Poilievre will prevail this evening, likely on with the first ballot victory. And I think that has really impacted Mr. Trudeau's political calculation as to whether he will run again or retire from elected politics. And you saw earlier this week that the Prime Minister indicated to his cabinet at a retreat in Vancouver that he would in fact be running in the next election. And I think he's probably reflected over the summer with his family about his next steps. And he's likely ultimately concluded that he is the best placed leader to defeat Mr. Poilievre in a general election. Compared to any of the potential successors that might succeed him as Liberal Party leader. I know there's been some reporting and discussion recently about whether Ms. Freeland, the Deputy Prime Minister and Finance Minister, who's long been seen as the heir apparent to Mr. Trudeau, there's been some speculation recently that she may be positioning herself to be appointed as the next NATO Secretary General. Which would surprise many because, as I say, there's been a sense that she would be the next Liberal Party leader and Prime Minister. So I think, Mr. Trudeau would relish the opportunity to go up against Mr. Poilievre in a general election campaign. I think the Liberal Party sees Mr. Poilievre as being quite vulnerable. Not only for positions that he's taken in this leadership race over the past 7 months, but also looking back on his political career. This is someone that was elected to Parliament in 2004 and was a member of Stephen Harper's cabinet, and really has a record that he will need to defend. And so I think Mr. Trudeau and the Liberal Party are relishing the opportunity to run against Mr. Poilievre and the Conservative Party in the next election. The party is squarely behind Mr. Poilievre. There's 119 caucus members in the Conservative caucus, and 62 MPs have endorsed Mr. Poilievre. So over half the caucus has endorsed him. Mr. Charest's only had about 10 or 12 MPs endorse him. And so I think that, I think the caucus is fairly united behind Mr. Poilievre. Now, I think, the PC factions within the party, those who supported Mr. Brown's candidacy or Mr. Charest, a lot of those people are more traditional, progressive conservatives, red Tories, if you will. And so I think a lot of those folks, whether they be campaign organizers, party veterans, they may not be as active under Mr. Poilievre's leadership. I do see the potential for some MPs, particularly from the Quebec caucus, to possibly break off, either leave the party, not run in the next election because they're not comfortable with Mr. Poilievre's brand of conservatism. And so I think there will be party unity issues at stake in the aftermath of tonight's results. But I would say, as much as this pains me to say, I think that were Mr. Charest to win this evening, the party would be, there would be a real fracturing, because a large segment of the Conservative Party has embraced populism and grievance-based politics. And so that's not the strain of conservatism that Mr. Charest has championed. So were Mr. Charest to become leader, I think much of the caucus would not be comfortable with his leadership style and his ideology and vision. And so I think the party will be relatively united coming out of tonight, because I am, obviously predicting a victory for Mr. Poilievre. But there will continue to be growing pains. And I will be curious as an observer and as a commentator to see how Mr. Poilievre brings into the fold those who did not support him. So when he announces a lineup of opposition critics in the coming weeks, what roles does he give to the caucus supporters who were behind Mr. Charest, like Gérard Deltel and Karen Vecchio and other members of the caucus? What roles does he give to, for example, Scott Aitchison and Leslyn Lewis, who are both caucus members? What opposition critic roles does he give his adversaries? And so I will be interested to see the opposition critic lineup and how he really treats his opponents and what roles he gives them, because I think that will be very telling in terms of his leadership style. He's been extremely combative in this leadership contest. Now the swords will be taken down, and it will be interesting to see how he leads this party and how he unifies this party in the aftermath.
Garnet Jennis is a high-ranking MP in the Conservative Party. I spoke with him earlier today about what he's watching for as a member of the party's caucus and how the party can officially unite after today's leadership vote. So Garnet, maybe just begin. Obviously today the Conservative Party is going to be electing their new leader at the Shaw Centre tonight. Obviously a very busy past couple of months for your party with the leadership race, and now they're going to elect a new leader, someone who will now lead His Majesty's loyal opposition in the House of Commons. What are you watching for tonight as Conservatives gather here in Ottawa to determine their next leader?
Yeah. Well, thank you. It is His Majesty's loyal opposition now, and a sad time with the passing of the Queen, and of course, following her example, we all continue to do our duty to try to make our country a better place. This has been an exciting leadership race. We've had far more people join and participate in this leadership race than have really ever participated in a political contest like this before. The number of people that have been interested and engaged through this process by multiple campaigns show the enthusiasm for our party and also the desire for change in the country. So that's good news. I think the new leader is going to have to now work to bring all of that together and to unite our new, larger party. But I think there's a really strong will for that unity, and there'll be a commitment from all sides to working to make that unity happen.
And when you look at the Conservative leadership race, all of the candidates that have entered the race ever since Aaron O'Toole was ousted by Party Caucus through the Reform Act, how does the party move forward after using the Reform Act to oust Aaron O'Toole to now unite behind whoever is elected as the new party leader tonight?
Well, I think it was clear at the time that there was need to move forward in a different direction. Not everybody agreed with that, obviously, but now we're at a point where the party, I think, can unite. There's been a democratic process. The members will have decided. Expectations are that it will be a pretty decisive result tonight, and I think we'll be able to come together. There'll be a strong will, I think, from all candidates and all members of caucus to see that unity, to offer a clear vision where we stand for something, where we're offering a program that is clearly based on conservative principles. Everybody I talk to on the various leadership camps within caucus and within the membership really want to see that united, principled conservative program that will allow us to move into government, and I think that will provide the basis for indeed doing so.
You mentioned the need to move into government. Obviously, the party in 2015, when Stephen Harper was running for another term as Prime Minister, they were unsuccessful. 2019, Andrew Scheer, and then 2021, Aaron O'Toole. What do you think went wrong that Conservatives can address with this new leader in order to be more successful and, in your case, hopefully win the next election?
Yeah, I mean, although we didn't form governments in any of those three campaigns, they were three very different campaigns, and there were, I think, some different issues in each one. It's clear one of the challenges we had in the last election was that there was a bit of an enthusiasm gap among Canadians for the election in general, and including among Conservatives. That turnout went down. The raw vote totals for all of the parties were down. And if, not speaking in terms of percentage, but in terms of numbers, that the same number of people had come out to vote for us in that election as had come out in previous elections, we would have been in a much better position. And of course, we need to draw votes from all directions, including from those who didn't vote. One thing that's clear from this leadership race is that we have overcome a large part of that enthusiasm gap. That Conservatives are now engaged. They want to be part of the political process, and I think we'll see a significant increase in engagement from Conservatives, overcoming that enthusiasm gaps, and that will be really helpful. I think what people want to see is a principled Conservative program that responds to their practical challenges, that addresses in particular the inflation and affordability crisis that we have as a country, and I think we're ready to unite around a program that will do that.
When you look at obviously the historic membership numbers that the Conservative Party has attracted in this leadership race, in this leadership election, how can you embark on those historic leadership election campaign additional membership numbers and ultimately turn those into additional votes in the next election campaign?
Well, yeah, the growth in membership is critical because people that have joined our party now will hopefully want to become donors and volunteers and activists. It's not just about their own support, but it's about what those people do to catalyze their families, their neighbors, associations that they're a part of. They are another few 100,000 ambassadors for the Conservative message, and that are bringing back to us issues, questions, concerns that they may be hearing. So we're a much bigger party now than we've ever been in the past because of the work that was done in this leadership race, overcoming any previous enthusiasm gaps that we've seen. So now we need to just continue to engage those members, continue to build momentum that's coming out of this, and I think that will be a key part of what brings us to government. It's going to be the leader, it's going to be the caucus, but it's also going to be that new enlarged membership excited about helping us put forward our principles.
And just lastly, day one, whoever's elected as the next leader of the party, what in your view do they have to ultimately put a spotlight, put a focus on in order to attract new Canadians to the party, attract and unite the party's caucus?
Well, I think our new leader is going to need to offer practical solutions to the challenges that Canadians face right now. There's a lot of concern about, especially inflation, affordability. There are other issues, but I think the affordability crisis is really top of mind for a lot of people. And the Liberals are getting distracted by other things, but are not really offering alternatives for Canadians that solve those real-world problems. In fact, they're making them worse. So the new leader is going to have to, yes, starting from Conservative principles, find those practical solutions to problems like affordability and inflation. People aren't seeing that from the government. They're looking for an alternative, and I think our new leader will be able to offer that.
Okay, Conservative MP Garnet Janice. Garnet, thanks so much for your time, and
thanks for having me.
Happy watching tonight.
Yeah, take care.
Micah Green is a supporter of the Conservative Party. I spoke with him about what he would ultimately like to see the Conservative Party do in order to win the next election. I'm joined now by a Conservative Party supporter. Micah, thanks so much for being here. Let's start out with, as a Conservative Party supporter yourself, what are you ultimately looking for tonight as the results come in at the Shaw Centre?
I'm very excited for us to finish this leadership race so we can get on with the fight against the Liberals. I think Canada needs us more than ever to be a huge, strong, united party, and I'm looking forward to coming out of tonight with that.
When you look at the differences between all of the major candidates in this race, what do you think the Conservative Party caucus, as someone who follows politics very closely, what do you think caucus as needs to do specifically in order to unite? Obviously, we know that they have had troubles with that in the past under Aaron O'Toole and previous leaders as well.
Sure. Well, I'd say a few things. First, I don't think there's as much disunity as you might think. I think dissenting voices have been amplified by, folks in the media, by on through social media, because it's interesting to talk about. But if you actually look at it, I mean, well over half of caucus has specifically endorsed Pierre Poilievre, and many others, have not endorsed anyone, implying that they're probably, going to be okay with results across the board. Even folks like, let's say, Michelle Rempel-Garner, who who ended up endorsing Brown at the beginning of the race, has in the last couple of weeks been saying some nice things about Pierre Poilievre. So I think, look, at the result that everyone seems to be expecting is an overwhelming victory by Pierre, and I think if that's the case, you're going to see immediate unity behind him by almost everyone in caucus.
All right, Conservative Party supporter Micah Green. Micah, thanks so much.
Thanks.